hear the finger explanation. I've never heard the finger explanation.
You've never had, she said you had 4 fingers. They were created at the same time, but they're not the same length. So development is like the same thing. This could be your gross motor, this could be the teeth, this could be the speech.
That is excellent.
Yeah, so she was saying they will never be on par all the time. Exactly at where they're supposed. Something might come faster, and then the other things might lag behind. But it doesn't always mean that there's an issue.
Ms. Phil, can you relate to any of these
so I'm trying to think. So my second is the one that now has gotten us onto this journey, and we also took a while to fall pregnant. I remember at 6, like month 6 of then you are hoping that your period doesn't come, and then because you're trying to get pregnant, and then it came, and I remember I'm just like, is this meant to say, because in my world a year, they say try for a year, and then if nothing happens after a year, then you start inquiring and then trying to figure out what's actually going on.
So I'm not impatient.
What is actually going on? But then he went to gynae, and I don't even know what he did, but he was just on some, you're a stress ball, you are not ovulating when you're meant to be ovulating, you are mixing. So then that's when I then started the apps. So the apps in my life started then.
Yes.
And then did the apps follow the apps? Oh, pregnant. Okay, sure, fine. But then so my pregnancy wasn't a difficult one, but so the one thing I remember like falling pregnant and saying, okay, talking to my child, you are a tenant in this body.
Yes.
You will not disrupt it. You will not. So the whole like I didn't get swollen ankles. I didn't get the big nose. I was like, we're going to glow. So I glowed.
You will.
My hair was luscious. I just glowed, but I walked at the pace of a snail. It was like the body that we're gonna make you look good, but you're just not gonna function anymore. And then I also had like pain, and they normally call it like round ligament pain.
Yeah.
But I had it from 9 weeks, so I could never walk further than anywhere. I just type of thing. Then I had a C-section and also with the last born, because every time I had a contraction, their heart rates would drop. So I never got the joy of actually getting to the point where you got to it like, okay, I'm tired now, or okay, now this can't go on, let's actually. So I had the C-section. Yes, you tell your husband to follow the trolley. So they show you the child, take a picture. Then they do the checks, and then they say they need to take. I'm like, please follow the trolley. Please follow the trolley. You can't lose sight of it. You do all of that. So I was also, I'm also a very need my lists, very paranoid, very observant. If you say to me hi, and even on WhatsApp, I'll pick up that this is not the normal hi that you So which means that I'm very, very, if things shift and move in my life, if when you're not the same today, tomorrow, I can pick up those things. But he was fine. He was fine up until, and I remember COVID hit, so he turned 1 in COVID. So he was 1 on March 5th, then we went to lockdown March 27th, type of thing. So then we decided we're going to go home down to Durban also. Let's COVID at home, around grandparents, all of that. And when we got there, and at that point he was eating everything. I mean, you're blending everything, you're creating meals. He's eating everything. There's no issue at all. So, but during that period, once he turned 1, then the food thing started. Yeah. All of a sudden, he doesn't want certain things, he wants certain things. Then all of a sudden, we started going into the bland. So he's a bland guy, he's bread. So when you eat, when we have burgers, he has the bun and the chips and the bacon some days. But that's how far it goes, and it all must be separate. So, but that's when it started. Then at like 18 months promptly is when like the food thing started. But at that time it was like noodles. Today he refuses to eat pasta or any noodles or anything like that. So it was the food was the first thing. But I didn't think of it also because they say that babies they start getting fussy.
Preference develops.
So we're like, okay, fine. And then we realized, and then because of COVID and we were all working, so he became a screen baby. Because I need to work, daddy needs to work, big sister is doing homeschooling now also. So then he became a screen baby. So then when we realized that when you call him, he doesn't turn around. So you may have big noises. So you'll hear the big noises, but he won't hear, hey, hello, hi. Yes, yeah, doesn't turn around. So then we thought maybe because he was a screen baby, so his focus was so channeled that he doesn't hear anything else. It's just that. But then also then he doesn't look at you. So the looks are glances. So I look at you because I know I'm having a conversation with you, but I'm looking at you long enough to know I'm having a conversation with you, but I don't need to look at you. So then you're just like, am I boring? Is something else more interesting? But when he's focused on something, he's focused. He will look at whatever he's looking at for the longest time. You said when you throw him in the air and then he used to freeze. My child was when we're getting dressed. If that moment of when the thing is going over his eyes, so you can't see, then you freak out.
Those 2 seconds of blackout.
So even the hearing, I remember then we went to take him for hearing test because we're just like, can you hear? Probably you don't hear us because he would turn around when we're shouting. So then we thought, okay, maybe because he's not hearing, and he's only hearing because it's a shout. So there was that. So it was the food, it was not looking at us, it was the hearing. And then we started school. So his baby brother, the last born, was born in, so he turned 2, then baby was born. And I realized then that I can't take care of both at home, so sent him to school. Then at school, then he's fine also. So and he's engaging with all the other kids and all that jazz. At that point, he only had Dada. I never had a name. I didn't have a name up until he was, so by name he never called me Mama. He just spoke to me in how he was speaking, and I just knew he was speaking to me, but I didn't have a name until he was about 3.5. That I actually had a name. No, I lied. Until 3.5, 4, because the baby brother called me by name. Then I think he just picked it up from there. But got to school, and then I remember at the end of that year, so he's 2.5, 2 years, 8 months, still no words. And now I'm comparing because I'm an app mom. So you calculate at this age they should have 50 words, and so the whole day you're just like, and you count their words now because you just like what's going on here. But because he's also a healthy child, a happy child, I'm not too worried. But I remember having a conversation with the school teacher, and I was just like, he's not talking. And then she was just like, that development, but he's engaging, he's fine, let's give it a while. So thankfully she didn't dismiss me. She just said, let's give it a while, and then we'll take it from there. But at that point, I had decided that no, something is not right. And my decision also, I made my decision myself. I didn't say to my husband, so I function like that. I do all the maths and all the calculations and all the research myself. So I'm the type who, 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm sitting, I'm reading, I'm putting things together. And then by the time I told my husband, I'm just like, no, something. And when I told him, I told him.
Yes.
I wasn't like, I'm thinking, what have you seen? All of that. I was just like, something doesn't add up.
Yes.
I don't know what it is, and but something doesn't add up. And I do. So, but what we know for sure is that his speech is just delayed. But I don't know about all the other things. I don't know about him not looking at us. I'm not sure about the actual eating. And also, he walked on his tippy toes. He would walk on his tippy toes, but he didn't do it enough for me to say that's definitely something. Because he would flatten, he would be fine, and then all of a sudden he would walk on his tippy toes. And then when you read that list of things, they walk on their toes.
So where are you reading this information? Because you guys have said your app moms, right? But where? So you Google. This was before ChatGPT.
I'm Dr. Googling. I'm Dr. Googling.
Okay.
And so you've already given yourself the title of this. You just like, okay, but also at the same time you just like, I'm not going to own it. I'm not going to own it because then it opens up a whole can of worms of other things. Because You've already gone through the anxiety of pregnancy. So for me, my biggest anxiety in pregnancy was miscarriage. Because a lot of people in my lives, we were pregnant at the same time, and not every one of us delivered a baby at the end of the day. So I'm already in with that pain. So my anxiety came from that place. And now all of a sudden, and then you have the child, and then your child is fine. And then I remember calming down, and I didn't, so I probably also needed to go to therapy at some point, but I told myself I don't have time for postpartum depression. Just function here. Just function here. I don't have time for that.
No, rest when you're dead.
Not the right thing to do. We all know not the right thing to do. But I remember having a conversation with myself. I'm just like, I don't have time for postpartum yet. I'm just like, we are functioning in this place. And yeah, so Dr. Google. Dr. Googling. And then I remember then having the conversation with the teacher, and she was just like, no. And then in my mind, I had decided when he turns 3, this thing doesn't shift and change, then I'm going to actively. So pregnancy was your, oh well, now I need to do it now. I need to figure this out now. For me, it was 3. It was when he turns 3, because I'm just like, for sure by 3, he needs to have his words. So for me, it was a definite marker that something is not clicking here. But I don't know what it is. I'm reading what Dr. Google is saying. I'm choosing right now not to own that because it's going to build, because I don't know what that means. I don't know how my life is going to change. I don't know how far. And also when you have the idea of autism, it's the extreme end of the spectrum.
That's the thing though, because what do we find on Dr. Google?
Yeah.
And this is part of the conversation that I want to have, because who your child is and what you read on Google, and then you're like, is that where we are headed?
That's the thing. Also, it is an absolute extreme end. So, which then for me was also the confusing part, because when you think of other, I don't even like the word disorder.
Yes.
Because it isn't a disorder, but
Yes.
I'm going to use it because that's the language they've given us now. When you think of that, so when you think of like Down syndrome, you can immediately see physically, you can see these things. So then the physical picture I had in my mind of autism is the extreme end, where just the can't function within just the normal, can't function with the noise, can't regulate, can't. Then it's all of that extreme part where, so that's the picture that I had. Where the anxiety and the fear set in, but I can't connect it to my child because my child's not that. So is it then? What is actually going on here? And then you read it's a spectrum, but you're also not quite sure.
What is a spectrum? Is it a ruler?
What does it mean?
Where does it start?
Where does it start?
Where does it end?
Therefore, is it in the middle?
In what increments does it increase?
That's the thing. And also being wired the way that I'm wired. I know that I like control and I like to understand so that I know what to do. But when you say spectrum and you can't tell me the millimeters in between and the variation, so I can't pinpoint it, so I don't know what this is. So I don't know what this is because everything else, so like you said, Grossmoto is fine. He's the 2-year-old who was climbing up and down stairs without having to hold on. So like when you think of when you have your parent teacher, like two-year-olds are meant to, they go up and down stairs by sitting down, like they use their butts. But this child is up and down stairs, like it's fine. So everything else makes sense. So what is happening here, type of thing. So then at 3, I was just like, okay, we're going to start the journey. All I realize now is that there's a speech delay. So speech to me equals speech therapist. So then let's start there. Let's then figure it out from there.
Okay, so 2 and 3. Yes, that's when you were like, all right, this is it. I've seen a few things. I'm not quite sure what they are, but the one I'm sure of, my child's not speaking. We need to do something about it. So
it's quite a lot actually, because there are certain things that we don't immediately say it's something off. Like my child doesn't point at things. So he wasn't pointing. When he wants something, he doesn't know to stretch his and say, even if the words are not there, but kids point. You know, kids point, kids wave, kids, you know, say hi. All those things. And now, you know, he points from time to time because he's getting the hang of it. But what he would used to do, he would go there, try to get that thing, get frustrated, leave it alone. At that point, he didn't even know where I can ask for help. Only now, he grabs you by the hand, takes you to the thing, stretch your hand, not his. Because he could easily just stretch his, but he doesn't really connect those things. So all those things, like when you try to tell someone to say, no, there's something off about my child, it doesn't point, and you're like, I'm crazy. Like, really? Why? You know, whatever else I say. Because it's simple things that, you know, that just happen, that doesn't connect the dots. And then you see your child, now he would have gone along this couch a few times.
Okay.
For one particular reason. Like he would play, and then start doing some circles. And then come back. Like it's a form. If he's not doing around the furniture, it's by himself, rotates himself. And then you get to find out about spinning. All this words that they use. But you've seen this thing happening, but then you wouldn't have known what it was. So cumulatively, eventually, you kind of, oh, okay, now this person, when they play with the toy, they don't play with it functionally, like how the toy functions. They play with it in their own manner. A car picks it up, turns it upside down, wants to see what the wheel is doing. Like, it's not gonna go, no, like, he's investigating.
Like, what are these mechanics?
What is happening here? And then now, it gets all the cars, they must be in the line, gets all the shoes, they must be in a line, gets all the Tupperwares, they must be in a line, all this thing, and then you're like, my guy, what are you doing?
So the whole, so my child also runs around, used to run around the dining room table. And you're just like, what is going on? Like, why are you running? And also, like, and like randomly, you'll be sitting and watching something, and I don't know if that's making him excited, but it's just, instead of when I think of my other kids, the excitement is you would jump up and like, Mama, and you know, no, it's jump up and then run. And then run. So
that's excitement, it's like it's within themselves.
It's
like
like
they're going to call you.
So they run around the table and also you don't pick it up until you pick it up. You just like, why does this person do this? And also when you tell someone, and someone's like, so they're running.
It's so trivial. It's really so trivial, and it sounds insignificant. Even when you narrate it out loud, you also start to think okay, he's just running. Because when you go out in the field, when he runs, he throws his hand in the air. You know, kids does that, but the way that he does it is different. Like, it's as if he's a small baby who's trying to also regulate at the same time and whatnot, and he just gets so excited and all sorts. Like open space, it's heaven, heavenly heaven. But then you're like, no, but kids are like that. And I was like, no, like there's something that I'm looking at, but I can't explain it. I can't tell you what it is. But you just see it, and then you start, you know, gathering. You can Google one type of behavior. Best believe it's going to end you at the term autism. Then you start seeing everything. And I was like, oh, he does this. No, he does this. He does this. Then you start boxing. And that's where it happens. You don't just wake up and Google autism. It's not in your mind. You don't know about it. You're not aware. If you Google one behavior, eventually
it takes
that's where it's going to pop up. But then when you look at other behavioral, then you're like, no, but my niece does this too. It's fine. My nephew does this too. It's totally fine. So maybe we're good. And then you have this back and forth for some time.
And this back and forth is happening with yourselves.
It's
happening because even talking to your husband, it also, like you say, it sounds silly. The moment you speak it, mind you, you're both living the life in this house with this child. So it's the one person who would say to you, yes, I've also seen that. But when you just start, so you're having a conversation with yourself and you have the back and forth, nobody's fine here. And then you think to yourself, okay, so also mine 7 months started walking using furniture. Didn't crawl.
We also didn't crawl.
We didn't crawl.
At some point,
we got to wherever we needed to get some there somehow, but we just didn't crawl. And so we walked, but he still also didn't understand walking on furniture because he would get stuck, like he'd get his legs stuck underneath there, and then you'll cry there, but just did not crawl. And even when you put them in the position of crawling, it's just like,
what are you doing?
and then you just flop and sit. And other
we also tried to make him crawl, and he ended up doing fun things with his
yeah, he did this.
And I was like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't crawl, like just walk like that. Because you think already not crawling, because your life moves in stages.
Yes.
Because you think not crawling is a problem, so they have to crawl, but they don't have. And then the pediatrician was like, no, some kids just get up
Just
and
walk.
walk.
Yeah.
So let it go.
And also, I was the same. If I crawled, my mom says I probably crawled for a month. I just stood up and walked.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, because I've got older siblings, so I was just like, I just didn't want to be left behind.
Yeah.
But the funny thing though is that he walked on furniture, but like you said also, he also walked for 18 months.
Yeah.
He walked on furniture, but didn't walk.
Didn't let go.
Didn't let go. He also only walked at around 18 month way. So he would take 1, 2, just like, look, walk on furniture. And you think to yourself, after you walked on furniture for such a long time, you would have that confidence. But then around 18 months then you were just like,
So it's almost like things were coming gradually, and then silence period, and then boom.
yes.
And then move, silence period, and then boom.
Yeah.
And then move, and then stuck.
Yeah.
And then backwards.
Yeah.
And then, so you almost have like this sporadic development where you're never quite sure, are you on a train line? Are you on a zigzag? Are you know?
And that is why it takes a lot of parents a long time to approach the likes of you.
Yeah.
You receive kids for speech therapy at 5 years, and then you're asking yourself, but why do we do things? They are not.
Yeah.
There is this back and forth, and there's something good that happens. Then they're like, no, but
Right.
then you continue. Life happens also, and time moves very fast. And then you're like, no, man, but because we spend so much time in the house because of the COVID and the thing, and then once we started getting out, then you also have all those triggers. You see the similar age and even younger doing the most. Then you're like, there's really something here.
So for me, for COVID, because he didn't speak, one of the backwards and forwards for me was he hasn't seen people speak. So maybe that's why he doesn't.
Yeah,
Everyone's wearing masks.
What
You
reasons?
know what I mean? So that was the thing. It was only when he was in school when he was just like, no man, but all of these kids, because if they're all the same kids, they're all COVID kids. These are all COVID kids. But he's not there with all the other kids.
So in the kids' spaces, we often say, don't compare children. Do you think there is value in comparing children? And not comparing because we want to compete.
Yeah.
Do you think there's value? Because that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm saying. It only really got confirmed for you when they were around peers.
Yeah. So for me, the comparison wasn't about something to compare like my child, from a competition aspect.
Yes.
For me, it helped my back and forth. Because of my back, because I was in my own head, I'm watching this child in my house. So when I got to school, and I would just watch, and that helped in let me make this decision. Because the most that can happen is, because I always say, just get the conversation going, or go get it checked out. What's going to happen is either nothing's wrong and you continue where you are, or I get the answer that I actually need to get. And that was the thing for me, was because I'm going with myself back and forth, and I'm sitting in a space of I'm not sure what is going on. And so watching all the kids, having conversations with the teachers, and like I said, being blessed to not be dismissed, but being blessed to, because for them, they said to me, we would start doing our own assessments when kids hit 3 as a school. Below that, we just allow the kid to read. So at 3, I had decided in my mind 3 was when I was going to start the journey. But at 3, when I had the parent-teacher conversation, they brought it up. And so when they brought it up to me to say, we are recognizing this, and we would like to recommend if we could have someone come and observe. And in my mind, so when I had that conversation, it wasn't scary, it wasn't foreign, it didn't feel like they were imposing because I had already decided. So when that conversation happened, I was like, okay. So this is also my back and forth can start being clearer now. So I embraced that conversation, and because I'm also the type, I don't like living in gray spaces. Just generally. I like to know what the problem is or what the thing is, and it's decided it's moved. So when that moment happened, I was like, so comparison for me helped to just get me to